Here are the headlines for Saturday, August 10, 2024. Climate fear-mongering fail. Great Barrier Reef sees third record year of coral growth. Massive increases in coral cover across the Australian Great Barrier Reef have been reported for 2023 to 2024, making it the third consecutive record year of heavy growth. According to monitoring by the Australian Institute of Marine Science, hard coral cover has reached its highest level since detailed observations began, with significant gains in all parts of the reef, from the warmer northern waters to the cooler southern areas. However, this news has been ignored by mainstream media, which instead focused on a non-story claiming that climate change poses an existential threat to the Great Barrier Reef. Ukraine demands Mexico arrest Putin at presidential inauguration. Ukraine's embassy in Mexico has requested that Mexico arrest Russian President Vladimir Putin if he attends the inauguration of Mexico's new president. Claudia Sheinbaum, citing an International Criminal Court arrest warrant issued against him in 2023. Mexico had invited Putin to attend the event, despite being a signatory to the Rome Statute, which requires member states to enforce the rulings of the International Criminal Court. Ukraine has condemned the invitation as shameful and urged Mexico to fulfill its international obligations by arresting Putin if he visits the country. However, outgoing Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has stated that Mexico will not arrest Putin if he attends the inauguration, citing that it is not within their authority to do so. What effect will voter identification laws have in the 2024 election? In the United States, 4 states have implemented strict photo identification laws at polling stations since the last presidential election, bringing the total number of states with such laws to 10. Research by the University of Maryland estimates that nearly 50 million Americans, or around 20% of adult citizens, do not have a valid driver's license or one with their current name and address on it, which could negatively affect voter turnout in the 2024 elections, particularly among marginalized communities and people of color. Japan mixed the batter. The Federal Reserve will bake the cake. The yield curve, which has predicted every United States recession since 1960, is steepening after an inverted curve finally leveled out, indicating that a downturn is nearly inevitable. The Federal Reserve admits that the yield curve has never failed to predict a recession, and with unemployment numbers trending upward again since 2022, the SOM rule has been triggered, which has predicted the majority of recessions since it was devised in the 1950s. Stock markets are flashing warning signs, including a global sell-off, especially in risk assets, and Japan's stock market is tumbling further in its worst day since 1987. UK Labour Party councillor filmed calling for far-right rioters' throats to be cut is charged. Ricky Jones, a 57-year-old former Labour councillor in the United Kingdom, has been charged with encouraging violent disorder after telling a crowd of anti-racism protesters in Walthamstow that far-right rioters are disgusting and should have their throats cut. He was arrested on Thursday and is expected to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court. Jones had previously been suspended from the Labour Party for his comments, which were deemed completely unacceptable and not tolerated by the party. Visualizing 45 years of growth in United States real wages by income group. Since 1979, the top income earners in America have seen their real wages grow at more than double the rate of every other income group, driven by complex factors including tax policy, technological change, and economic downturns. This rapid rise has led to significant income inequality in the United States, with the lowest paid workers seeing only a 17% increase in real wages over this period, averaging a dismal 0.4% annual growth rate. In contrast, the highest income earners have experienced substantial wage growth, contributing to a shrinking middle class and growing shares of lower income and upper income households. United Kingdom's night of the ghost fascism. The establishment's hyping of the far right is dangerous and inaccurate, leading to blind spots in counterterrorism resource allocation and potentially distracting from real threats, such as extremist groups like Ansar al-Sharia. The case of Khairi Sayadallah, a Libyan asylum seeker who murdered 3 men after being referred to prevent 4 times, and known by intelligence services, highlights the need for a more nuanced approach to addressing extremism. Meanwhile, politicians and media outlets are misrepresenting the scale of the far right, with some even suggesting that thugs are equivalent to a fascistic collective like Daesh. These are the United States universities with the most athletes at Paris 2024. Stanford University tops the list of United States universities with the most athletes competing in Team United States at the 2024 Paris Olympics, according to data from the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. Stanford has produced 146 Olympic athletes, including swimmer Katie Ledecky, who has won 9 gold medals, the most in history for a female swimmer. The University of California, Los Angeles, and the University of Southern California follow closely behind with 17 and 16 athletes, respectively. Fauci's deoxyribonucleic acid of caring. Dr. Anthony Fauci's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic was marked by authoritarian measures, disregard for scientific data, and significant harm to the economy and society. He prioritized the adoption of untested vaccines over exploring all possible treatment avenues, leading to a devastating outcome with more than 3 million excess deaths since 2020. Fauci's enforcement of arbitrary measures such as lockdowns and vaccination mandates has eroded public trust and inflicted deep scars on the nation. His actions have been criticized for mirroring the very failings he claimed to have learned from the HIV/AIDS crisis, highlighting the dangers of unchecked authority in public health leadership. Earnings call mentions of consumer downturn soar to highest level since financial crisis. Goldman Sachs analyst Scott Thaler stated that the consumer is experiencing a noticeable slowdown due to depleted personal savings and maxed out credit cards. Low and mid-tier consumers have reached their limit in absorbing price hikes on goods and services, leading to a decline in demand across various industries, including luxury brands, airlines, travel companies, fast food chains, theme parks, and consumer goods companies. The tone of management teams and analysts is not great, with mentions of consumer downturn, cautious consumer, consumer pressure, and consumer weakness spiking on earnings calls to record highs.